Hello and welcome to the Animation Industry Podcast. My name is Terry, and last week I asked if any listeners had any fun facts or just cool projects that they wanted to share, and I would talk about them in this intro because I think it's really fun how there's a little community around this podcast, and I just want to share what you guys are up to. So anyways, I actually received quite a few fun facts from listeners, and so over the next couple of weeks, I'm just going to highlight someone randomly and talk about their fun fact. And if you want me to include your fun fact, just get in touch with me. So this week, I want to share that Alistair is creating royalty-free music on Newgrounds that perhaps you want to use in your animations. He also hosts a popular podcast on Newgrounds called The Off the Wall Show, where topics range from cancel culture to music marketing and much more. And I'm going to include a link to his podcast and his royalty-free music in the description of this chat, so go check that out. Now, this week I'm chatting with veteran stop-motion animator Brett Long, who's worked on tons of stuff you've already seen, including M.O.D.O.K, Robot Chicken, Crossing Swords, Rick and Steve, the happiest gay couple in all the world, and most recently, Shape Island. In our chat, he's going to share how he's originally from Canada, where he started his stop-motion career at the notorious Cup of Coffee studio before transitioning to Stupid Buddy in the States, and exactly how he did that. But before we dive in, this episode is sponsored by Hue, makers of colorful plug-and-play cameras for learning, work, and play. Originally designed for teachers, Hue cameras can also be used for creative activities such as capturing hand-drawn pencil tests and shooting behind-the-scenes footage, time-lapse videos, and of course, stop-motion animation. Their cameras have flexible, posable necks, manual focus controls, and they are compatible with Dragon Frame, OBS, Twitch, Zoom, and many other camera apps. Just visit huehd.com to learn more and follow @Hue Cameras on social media for news, fun, and giveaway, and get 10% off any Hue product from huehd.com with the code 10TerryAIP, and I've included a link to all this in the description of this chat, so please go check that out. And now, without further ado, let's jump in. Hi, Brett. How is it going over there?
It's going good. How are you?
Good. So you're talking to me live from Stupid Buddy Studios. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm currently in the parking lot right now in California. Yes.
So you just got a shot approved to come on this podcast, and then you have to go shoot again right after we're done talking.
Yeah, after this I'm gonna get directed on my next shot. Yeah.
Oh wow. Can you say what you're working on right now, or is it a super secret?
Probably not.
Okay, let's not say anything then.
Yeah.
So okay, so we were chatting a little bit just before I hit record, and something you told me is that you were working at a balloon factory right after you had gone to Sheridan doing media arts, where you had learned to do like art or lights and set making for stop motion, etc. But you had to move back home and work at a balloon factory. How did that feel while you were making balloons, thinking about animation at that point?
I hated it. Like it was a place that I did not like waking up to and going to every morning.
So explain the situation. Like, you just finished school. What caused you to go and work at the balloon factory rather than start in animation, I guess?
Well, I never really felt like I was an animator. Graduating from Sheridan at the media arts program, my majors were in animation, but I didn't feel like I had the skills to go off and just try. I guess I was maybe afraid of that, but you know, I felt like I was a creator. I wanted to be making stuff, and I couldn't find the job that allowed me to do that. And from being so picky, I ended up working in a factory.
Did you have other people at the time being like, don't be so picky, take something in a related field? Because stop motion is, especially in Canada, was such a it still is super niche thing to get into. Were people saying like, you know, get into graphic design or other forms of animation?
No.
No?
No, maybe they should.
People were saying get into balloons.
They're like, you love balloons. Uh, you, yeah, they're saying you love balloons. Go sort some balloons and work in shipping and receiving because you love
Wow.
that stuff.
Do you have a disdain for balloons to this day?
No, no, maybe the poor quality ones. Like I ended up being able to tell the difference by texture of like what a good quality balloon feels like and a not good balloon, and like knowing where balloons come from. A lot of that information is gone now, but you know,
Wow.
there was one point in time where I'd be able to tell you the the code number of a balloon based off its color.
Oh
So
no,
you
you're just
and
showing
its
up to birthday
size.
parties. They're like,
Yeah, like, oh,
here's Brett.
that's a 9928, which was I think a red 9-inch balloon.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
So, what made you reach a point when you were at this balloon factory to say, screw this, I'm gonna pack up my bags and move to Toronto and just hope that I get into animation, even though I don't feel like I'm ready?
Uh okay, so I had to drive to work every
Yeah.
day. So I had to have my own car. And then that car, somebody hit my car, and then it kind of broke down shortly after that. And that was kind of like a turning point where I was like, I don't want to own a car. I want to be able to like bike around, and Toronto just seemed like the option right there.
Oh, so you moved to Toronto
Big
because
drive.
of a transportation convenience thing.
Definitely. I mean that, and it was close by. So still I was able to be in touch with family and friends, and I actually moved in with a bunch of friends that were going there, so things kind of lined up that way anyway. So yeah, we
Wow.
a few of us just moved to Toronto together. One was going to school, and then the other friend was just kind of couch surfing.
Okay. So you had to
But
quit your
yeah,
balloon job, and then how long, once you were in Toronto, how long did it take for you to get your start in stop motion?
um
This is back in like 2013, 14, something like that.
sounds about right. Yeah. When when uh yeah, probably a year or two before the first show that I worked on. So maybe still might have taken like a year or two. So I mean, at least I was in Toronto, and I picked up a dishwashing gig at a restaurant where my brother worked.
Hmm.
So he got me a job at the restaurant, and then I was just doing dishes, which was fine because like I didn't have to really think about anything. I could just keep dishes clean, and I was in and out, and uh yeah, at least making like connections and doing whatever I could. Yeah,
So how did you make your break into stop motion itself?
there was um there was a posting that went out from Cup of Coffee, and uh I just threw my stuff at it, and then started a communication with them, and they liked one of my films. They liked a couple of my films that I did,
So
and
you were
I went in for
dishwashing
a
by
test.
day and making films by night type of thing?
Um, More or less. I remember animating on the floor of my place. We were doing Film Fort back at that time. And so Film Fort was up and running. If you ever talk to a guy named Winston Hacking, he kind of like curated this event for local artists to kind of come together and just talk about projects and help each other out. And we called it Film Fort. And every once in a while we would have a screening, so that kind of pushed us to make our own content. And sometimes we would have themes, sometimes it was just open to see what you were working on. And it was definitely based off community. And so yeah, we were making these little projects and just keeping our creative energy up while I was working as a dishwasher. Yeah.
Nice. So how did the, cup of coffee, obviously you work there, but how did the intro there go? You showed up, they like your work, and then you're hired?
Yeah, yeah, it was that
Nice.
easy. Actually, there was some back and forth stuff that happened, um, which was a little bit funny in retrospect. But I initially didn't get a position, and I was contacting the owner and then an animation director separately. And the owner was like, yeah, we want you to work here. And then the animation director was telling me that there's not any room for me, unfortunately. So I messaged, so I was like, okay. And I talked to the owner and I was like, hey, it's unfortunate, but I was told it's not going to work out. And he wasn't even in Toronto. I think he was like probably emailing me from England or something. And he was just like, hang on now a second. When I get back, I'm going to sort this all out and I'm going to get you here. And, and so I think I was like the last first tail end on the roster to kind of sneak my way in as an animator. And yeah, that's how I got in. So, I mean, I just kept the communication open to anybody that I could. And that's how I got in. Yeah.
Interesting. um, and then I'm just trying to like fast forward to some of the stuff you worked on lately. So a cup of coffee, shuts down. Were you part of that
Yeah.
shutdown?
I shut it down.
You shut it down. Well, I
It was all
mean, like,
me.
well,
It's my fault.
it was your fault.
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, you know
Well,
what I mean? Like, it's packs up its bags and closes shop in Toronto. And were you left to be like, well, I guess I'm not doing stop motion anymore.
when it, yeah, I remember it relocated. Um, I was there for, I guess, the last major project that they did, which was the second season of Glenn Martin DDS. So we did that, and then uh, during during that time, I was living with my buddy Winston Hacking in a small like artist's loft, and we were fortunate to be getting a couple much fact grants.
Hmm.
So when it shut down, we kind of just, I guess, went more into full-time mode doing music videos and like projects for
Oh, cool.
under the name Exploding Motor Car.
Exploding motor car.
Yeah.
So what made you stop doing that and start thinking about getting back into like TV production?
We I guess we just kind of grew out of it. The artist's loft space kind of was getting pretty worn down.
Hmm.
Rent was kind of going up, and it just seemed like the time. It just had like an expiration date on it, I guess. Like, it was fun and exciting when it first happened, and then I think it kind of became a little bit like financially driven and less about creating. Uh, I don't know. Yeah, it just it got tricky near the end of living in that space. So we just kind of
That's fair. Um,
left it and yeah, moved on.
it sounds like you kind of have like a. Do you ever feel like settling down somewhere, I guess, mentally wise? Like, you went to Sheridan, moved back to Grimsby, came to Toronto, moved into an artist space. Now you're in the States. Like, do you ever feel like settling down somewhere and like being like, this is where I'm gonna stay? Or do you more or less kind of follow the wind where it takes you?
I've been following the wind for sure, but now that I have two children, I definitely feel like there should be some settling down eventually. If it's in Burbank, maybe. If it's somewhere else,
Yeah.
that all depends.
Interesting.
that's something that's like up in the air right now and being discussed. So I don't know quite where that will be yet, but I feel like there needs to be, yeah, a home base somewhere, and whether that be Burbank or somewhere else, Toronto, Montreal, anything.
Would it depend on where work is, or would you be willing to
Work at a balloon factory again? I don't
yeah.
think I'll do that. I don't think I'll do that. So yeah, if there's work there, that sounds promising. I think it's worth exploring
Gotcha.
for me.
So how hard was it for you to get to the US? Just because I know that some stop motion animators from Toronto have, or just Canada, have a hard time getting companies or studios in the US to do the whole visa process for them. And a lot of studios will just say no. So how difficult was it for you to get to the US and then stay there for the last 7, almost 8 years, I guess?
Yeah, my first contract was 1 month long.
What?
So I came here. I came here on a TN visa and just tried it out. To get
It was with
to get
Stupid Buddy?
Yeah. So
Ah,
to get that, it took about a year because there was
what?
nothing
That's crazy.
actually. Well, there was nothing being shot at Stupid Buddy at that time. So after moving to Toronto, um, after post living in the artist space, I moved in with my wife. Like I got married and then we were living together, and um, still trying to do like independent projects and stuff. And I ended up emailing. It was probably like 75 stop motion studios from around the world. Some emails came back saying like this email doesn't exist. Some places were like, hey, we don't do stop motion anymore. But somehow online I found this list that
I
exists.
think it was on stopmotionanimation.com.
And maybe it was.
I think I know about this list.
Yeah. Somehow uh Alex Kamer messaged me and he just started a conversation. He's one of the animation directors here at Stupid Buddy.
Hmm.
So I had a good chat with him, and he said, "There's nothing here right now, but I like your stuff. Just be in touch." And shortly after, I got an artist residency. So when that was all done and I finished this like stop motion VR project, I opened up a conversation with him again, and that happened to be right when the studio was getting actually pretty busy and they needed more animators to come in. So they wanted to, I guess, try me out for a month, and I said sure. So I came down on a TN visa, and uh, with a TN visa, you just have to make sure you have all your paperwork ready, and you pretty much get interviewed at the airport. So
Wow.
you have to book your flight. You have to go tell them you're applying for this visa, and then they put you into like this room where a bunch of people are, I guess, getting like visas at the airport or something. And yeah, they go through all your they go through your package and say yes or no.
Wow.
So
So they
you
said,
either get to walk through or you go back.
they're
So
like, we
I
don't know
walked.
what stop motion is, but yes.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, you're gonna work where? And I'm like, Stupid Buddy Studios. And they're like, is that real?
Yeah,
I'm like,
right. Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
It's such a silly name for like putting on official paperwork.
Yeah, but the good thing is though, like you tell them that they're the studio that does Robot Chicken, and everybody, like so
Yeah,
many people know Robot Chicken. So
right. So when you get to Super Buddy, did you feel like everything counted on you doing amazingly during this 1 month trial? Like, did you feel like I have to really set myself up? I have to like be the best, most personable person with the best animation skills, or like, what was your mentality going into this
I
like
don't know,
opportunity?
just be myself, smile, and have fun. And I feel like there's a little bit of luck and got involved. Alex, who told me to come, wasn't there that day. And so I was just kind of there walking around going, what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
And I ended up doing a couple shots on a show called Super Mansion, but I was actually hired to go work on some robot chicken sketches. So Super Mansion, nobody knew that I was supposed to be there or whatever, but I started working on that shot on that show, and they're like, "Hey, this guy's great. We got to keep him." And I'm like, "All right, cool, yeah, thumbs up." And then, yeah, I got extended right away. Well, I guess at the end of that, I got extended to work to finish the show, and went home. Went back to Toronto in December, so I think it was from about maybe September to December was how long I worked for the first chunk, and then they started up a new show the next year, which I couldn't quite jump on board right away because I actually had a Canada Arts Council project that I was working on.
Oh.
So I finished that up with Winston Hacking, and then yeah, started working on Buddy Thunderstruck in like June or something like that.
Wow. So you're just
So
project to project to project.
yeah, since June, it's pretty much been consistent project to project.
I think it's crazy you were just started working on a show that you weren't even supposed to be working on. You just showed up and you're like,
Yeah, like
I'm now animating the shots for this, even though I'm not
yeah,
on
like
the call list.
who are you? Yeah,
You're like, I don't know.
yeah,
So how did
yeah.
you know you're a super, I mean, you're a super experienced guy when it comes to stop motion, especially I guess the Studio Buddy style with like, quick snappy movements, etc. How does it feel working all this time in stop motion, coming from like a balloon factory and then getting music videos and then grants, and now you've been in Burbank for like 7 years working on tons of different TV shows? Like how does that feel now? Like what keeps you coming back every day? Are you excited? Like, does it ever get boring? Does it just get more exciting?
Um, well, I definitely don't think about the balloon factory every day, and I don't really think that's I've come from. I think I just maybe like tripped back then into the balloon factory, and I found my way again.
Yeah.
Uh, so I don't know. I definitely like animating. It makes it's just fun. Yeah, that's the reason why I guess I keep coming back, because I do find it exciting.
Okay. Before we hit record, just previously, you told me that you don't really feel super proud of any of the shots that you do. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure. Um, yeah, so I guess I'm never happy with any of my of the shots that I do.
But why not? Like you're having fun doing it, you like doing it, but you're not happy with what you do. What's wrong? I guess.
I don't know. There's something wrong with me. I think maybe like if I do a really good job on something, I feel like I spent too much time on it. So there's
Hmm.
with TV, there's pressure to get things kind of done in a timely manner, and I feel like if I spend too long on a shot, um, that's not a good thing. And if I rush something, it obviously the quality's not there. So there's this constant battle of compromise.
Yeah.
Uh, and I when I look at a shot, I know uh I guess that I should say like right away after I'm done a shot, I'm never really proud of it. But reflecting on shots, maybe like I see a year later or whatever, like I'm like, oh, okay, it's not that bad.
You just need some
So
time.
yeah, yeah. I need to like remove myself from, because like it's too close and personal.
Yeah, for sure. Have you gotten super speedy over the years with working on TVs productions?
Um, I I don't know, because nobody tells me anything.
Nobody says anything
And
to me.
I feel like they a lot of the times they'll give me more complicated stuff too that will take more time. So
Hmm.
they're like, just take your time on this shot. But like still in my head, I'm like, okay, I can't spend like 4 days on this thing, you know. But yeah.
So what are some of the, I guess, like tricks and like skills you've had to learn to not spend 4 days on something but still make it quality? Like you just talked about like having a trade-off, but like how have you been able to speed up your animation? Like,
It's probably less second guessing.
hmm,
You learn a few things that become muscle memory. Um, and I feel like that takes over. So when you're not so heavily analyzing frame to frame, and you just know that that's what you do in the situation, that definitely speeds things up. Uh, and like, yeah, that all that's just the experience, you know. That's where somebody with more experience they have that understanding of
yeah.
um
One thing I wanted to ask you is you kind of started animating before Dragon Frame. Do you think that being able to animate more intuitively without the like, playback and all the fancy stuff that comes with Dragon Frame has taught you to be a better animator? Or has it given you an extra skill that like people that just jump in with Dragon Frame right away might not appreciate?
I think it was maybe like a helpful step to 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 write down and break it down. Like I still see people do that in the Dragon Frame X sheet to like write down all the moves and stuff. Like people will still do that. Um, so I think it's like it helps understand timing when you can see it written down in a way.
Hmm.
However you understand whatever you're writing down, as long as like you can kind of like decode whatever you write on the X sheet to make sense for you, I think helps with the timing. And then eventually you just, for me anyway, I still do it sometimes for more complicated stuff, but like for simple things, I don't really need to break it down as much. I just kind of know the character is going to do this, especially if it's to dialogue. I already know, okay, his hand comes out here or whatever example, you know.
Okay, cool, cool. I'm wondering, you've worked on so many different shows, mainly primarily with Stupid Buddy. How did you end up on Shape Island after all these years at Stupid Buddy?
Um, an email. I sent out an email and they asked for a demo reel and they said, "We've never heard of you."
Oh
And
no.
I said, "That's because I'm Canadian. I've only worked at Stupid Buddy. I've been on this type of visa for so long that only allowed me to work at Stupid Buddy.
Oh,
But this situation, I have an O1 visa, which allows me to branch outside of um, Stupid Buddy Studios and kind of work more freelance style, contract to contract at any studio. And so they said okay, and I showed them the reel, and uh, I think I also knew a bunch of the people that were hired there anyway, and
yeah.
yeah, I ended up with working with everybody that I knew already. So
Oh,
it was just the owners that like didn't know me. So I guess people that have worked with me put in a good word.
nice. Based on the visas you were on, what happened when there was downtime with Stupid Buddy in between contracts or shows? Did you have to come back to Canada for those things, or?
Um, with the visa, I think you have like 60 days or something like that to get a new job, and there just hasn't been that amount of time.
Fair, fair.
So it's worked out definitely.
One thing I wanted to ask you was Shape Island, which is something that I always struggle with and I'm currently struggling with. They're these super cute little shapes, but they have the tiniest feet. How do you get under the character and animate those feet so exquisitely when there's like it looks like there's only 1 or 2 centimeters of room between the feet and like the floor and the body of the character.
It's those puppets can just come apart. Each side is a panel that's magnetic, so
Oh,
you can just take off the left side where maybe his arm will come out, and you have access to his insides.
oh wow. Okay, never mind. That's easy
Yeah,
and makes sense. And then you
yeah,
just put it back together and it's perfect.
yeah, because it's all magnet.
So it's actually
But yeah,
easy
it's a
to
really
animate these
it,
things.
yeah, it's a really great design. There's like ball and socket inside of him just for the 2 legs with like the hips that rotate, and yeah, all the triangle and square are built that way. And then with circle, she kind of floats on her own little rig that gets removed in post.
Gosh, wow. So okay, so you grew up in Canada, you wanted to get into stop motion, you were able to work on a whole bunch of cool music videos, some grants, the only stop motion shop, cup of coffee around for years, and then moved to the States and work on tons of TV shows, etc. Are you working towards something? Like, is there like what's next for you, I guess is what I'm asking.
Um, well, obviously, like I still feel like I'm a creator, not just an animator. So getting to make my own thing would obviously be great.
Yeah,
I definitely respect artists like Chris Walsh, who has a family and is able to make a short film by himself. Like that's like, hands down, like an amazing feat to accomplish.
right.
Um, yeah, yeah, just admire that. So one day doing something like that when there's some time.
Yeah, do you think you'd have to move back to Canada because of the visa situation to do something like that if you wanted to like take time off or like
Um, I don't know. I hope it doesn't require that much work to like do a hobby. I think it's just a matter of the age maybe my kids are at right now. Like they just need to grow up.
kids grow up,
Yeah.
right? I
Let
guess
me
as we're
play with
just
these. Let me
as we're
play with
just
these puppets, kids.
yeah, right. I guess as we're just wrapping things up, is there anything that you want to share with those listening who are getting into stop motion or they've been in stop motion for a while? Anything I mean, you're such a veteran in the craft. You've worked on some really cool stuff over the years. Is there anything that you have specifically learned that has enabled you to be so, I guess, successful at what you do that you want to share with others?
Uh, yeah, I don't necessarily think. Um, well, patience sure is like a big thing to have in stop motion, but there's
Right.
also persistence too. Like you gotta like keep going for it. I think
Yeah.
persistence is almost more important than patience. Is like when I'm animating, I feel like I have ADD. I'm like, you know, toggle, toggle, toggle. This guy has to move here, and it's like kind of crazy when you get into the zone when you're animating. But that's all persistence. It's not like patience to get. Uh, you're not sitting there waiting for like a water to boil. You're moving around and you're trying to get things to the right frame. You want it to look that way. I think that's persistence. So
Hmm.
I think so I think with that skill set, you need to reach out to people that are in the industry and let them know what you want to do, and never just keeping communication open. I think that's where a lot of my success has come from, just even through emails and just like being friendly, and yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I think that's really important, especially if you come from a place that doesn't have a really supportive stop motion, specifically industry. Being persistent definitely can get you places. I know a couple of people who have been really persistent with the career they want, and they're currently at those places now.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Brett. Is there any last words you wanted to share before we wrap up?
Keep fit and have fun.
I don't know if everybody's gonna get that reference. Is that like a 90s TVO?
I think that's why
Hal Johnson.
Hal
Hal
Johnson.
Johnson and Joanne McLeod. Yeah, Canadian
Johnson.
television host, body
Yeah.
break. Keep fit and
Yeah.
have fun. All right, Brett. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I know we only had a short amount of time, but I'm super happy we got to chat. And it's been a pleasure hearing about your journey and some of the cool things you're working on. So thank you so much for coming on.
I'm in Toronto mid-June.
Cool.
If you want to grab a drink or something like that, let me know.
Is this an invite to anybody on the podcast? Is this an invite?
Sure, well, I guess so. Yeah, why not? When does this get streamed? Is it streaming right now?
No. I'll post it later. I pre-record these things.
Okay, great.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on. And if you're listening and you want to, follow Brett's work or get in touch with him, you can check out his website, which is vrstopmotion.com. And I'll include a link to that in the description of this chat. And you can also check him out on Instagram, which is under Alpha Brett, and I'll include that as well. So thanks so much for listening. And that's all for now. So thank you so much for listening. Okay, bye. The music for this podcast was composed by Willem Mendo and the graphics by Luhan Wang. I encourage you to look them up if you've enjoyed their work.